Alright you guys, in today's video we are simplifying rational expressions. Let's get it. Alright guys, so before we get into factoring rational expressions, we have to know what a rational expression is, and by definition, in simplest terms, it's a fraction with the numerator and denominator being a polynomial. And what's a polynomial, you may ask? A polynomial is basically an expression with the coefficient, this is the number in front of the variable, and a variable followed by any type of function. So you could have exponents, you could have addition, multiplication, subtraction, division, anything. It's just an expression with a function, a variable, and a coefficient. Alright, so for our first rational expression, believe it or not, this is a rational expression. We'll start off with something easy. So here we have 3x plus 12x. So as you know, we said before, a rational expression being a fraction with a polynomial on top and bottom. Here we have our polynomial, 3 is being multiplied by x, and here we have 12 being multiplied by x. So we have a full-on rational expression, but how do we factor it? So first step is always looking at both sides. Can we do anything to try and factor out or simplify one side or the other? So let's look at 3x. 3 and x are two separate things, but here together they have been combined to become a polynomial. But we have nothing else that we can do to 3x. What about 12x? Well, that's the same as 3x. It's a polynomial that can't be simplified any further. Now let's go ahead and simplify the whole rational expression. So here we have 3x and 12x. What is something similar in the 3x that we can find in the 12x? Well, something similar I recognize is that they both have x, so that's one thing that we'll be sure to simplify out. So let's write that down. They both have x. They both have x. And another thing is that, I see both of them are factors of 3. So, if I divide this by 3, I'll get x. If I divide this by 3, I'll get 4x. So we could go ahead and write 3 as well. So here we see that 3x can be taken out of each side, the numerator and denominator. Or in fancy terms, we call this the GCF, or greatest common factor. So now we know that 3x over 12x would be equal to, so we take 3x out of here. So 3x divided by 3x, that gives us 1. So we have 1. And 12x divided by 3x, what does that give us? That gives us 4. Because if I multiply 4 by 3x, that'll give me 12x. So here I have 1 over 4. So if in the SAT, I'm pretty sure some people are familiar with that, the SAT or any of your algebra exams, if you see something like this, just look for the GCF. We have 3x being the GCF, so we take 3x out of 3x, that gives us 1. And we take 3x out of 12x, that gives us 1 over 4. Alright guys, so now that we've tackled the first question, let's go ahead and get something a little bit harder. Now before we move on, I did a video on how to factor out trinomials with leading coefficients. So if you haven't checked that out, please do so. The link is in the description, as it will help with the next two problems we will be facing. So let's get started. So here you see 3x plus 18. Now don't worry. Don't start with the mindset that you can't do this. You can do this. You have the potential. You have to miss it. You see something like this, don't let it fool you. Don't let it disturb you. Just take it one step at a time. So as I said before, we have 3x plus 18 over x squared plus 6x. How do we factor this? How do we slow this down? Let's make it smaller by taking on one set at a time. So we start with the numerator and then work to the denominator. So let's draw our line. So all our work will be shown right here. So let's start with 3x plus 18. What can I take out of 3x plus 18? We have an x, but no x here. So we can't take x out of this. What is another GCF that we could take out? Well, I see 3 and 18. 3 is a factor of 3, and you can also take 3 out of 18. So we know that our GCF for our numerator is going to be 3. So you write 3 by the side, and you get our parentheses. So 3x divided by 3 is going to give you x. Then we have 18 divided by 3, that's going to give you 6. So here we have 3 times x plus 6. And if you multiply this back, you'll get the same answer as what you have here. Now let's move to the bottom. We see we have x squared plus 6x. How do we take that down? How do we destroy it? How do we factor it into something smaller? Here we have x squared and here we have 6x. Well, I notice here we have a 6, and like the first one, we used a coefficient to solve it. But here we have a 6, but here we don't have any leading coefficient, so we can't use 6. How about x? We have x here and we have an x here, so let's try that out. If we take 1x out of x squared, that'll give us x. And if we take x out of 6x, that'll give us 6. So let's divide this the denominator into something a bit easier to chew. So we have x squared divided by x, that'll give us x. Remember, if you see squared on anything, just know that that thing, whatever the exponent is on, is being multiplied by itself. So here we have x squared divided by x, that gave us x, and we have 6x divided by x, that'll give us 6. So let's get our parentheses like the top. So we have x plus 6. So now you may think, hey, this looks pretty factored out. But notice there's one thing in particular that looks the same. We have a x plus 6 here and an x plus 6 here. So what can we do to factor this out? Well, we can cancel them. X over 6 plus x over 6 is just 1. That's like saying 4 over 4. So if we have a 4 and we have another 4 here, that's like saying 4 divided by 4. That'll give you 1. So we don't need any repetition. We don't need any heavy weight. So we could go ahead and drop this heavy weight by crossing it out. So now this would be equal to, so now we just have 3 over x. Now look at how we took something big and scary and turned it into something just little and something comprehensible. That's what you do with big equations or big expressions as this. Take it one step at a time and break it down into something small. Alright y'all, so we passed the easy level, the medium level. Bruh, now we're at the boss level. So now keep the optimism the same. Keep it up, y'all. Don't let anything big like this discourage you. Let's take it one step at a time, like we've been doing. So here we have 6x plus 24 over x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now, how do we take this down? Let's start with the numerator. Let's take out our GCF. What is a GCF we could take out of this? So it can't be x because there's no x here. How about 6? Well, 6 is also a factor for 24. We could take 6 out of 24 4 times. So let's go ahead and write that out. So this will all be equal to, let's draw a line. So we have 6. 6 is our factor. So you write it right here. Now take it. So it's always outside of the parentheses. Remember that. Now we have our parentheses, which is going to be our factored form of this equation over here. So 6x divided by 6. That's leaving us with x. Then bring our plus sign since it's here. Then we have 24. 24 divided by 6, that gives us 4. So here on this side, we've been able to factor out 6x plus 24 to 6 times x plus 4. Now it's getting easier. Now let's move on to the giant and we have here at the bottom. So we have x squared plus 7x plus 12. What can we do to factor this out or simplify it? As we said before, we're taking our GCFs, but before we do that, I noticed one thing. This isn't just any expression, it's a trinomial, and we factored those before. So let's start off with C. What two numbers can multiply to give us 12? So we have 6 and 2, but those numbers don't add up to give us 7. We have 12 and 1, but those numbers don't add up to give us 7. We have 4 and 3. So 4 times 3 will give us 12. 4 times 3 will give us 12. And does 4 plus 3 give us 7? Yes, it does. So we know that 4 and 3 are our numbers that we are going to be using. So now that we have this and there are no leading coefficients, we know that all that's left is just putting it in its regular form. Because we have all plus signs, with time you'll know that this will just be x plus 3 times x plus 4. So x plus 3 times x plus 4. And that's the factored version of our trinomial here, x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now, we see that we factor these out into something similar, something we can, factor out. So here we have x plus 4 and x plus 4. And as we've done before, we know we can take those out. They cancel each other out. We don't want any heavy weight. So now all that's left is 6 over x plus 3. And there we have it, guys. This right here is the same or factored version of our equation or expression right here. Can you believe that we took a monster like this and turned it into something baby and small like this? Big ups to y'all. That's it for today. Stay safe and God bless.